Hey, it's your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today, focusing in on the covert and overt narcissist personality traits of lacking empathy, having an empathy deficit, and its impact on the people who have been in relationships with them, either in familial sense, business sense, or in this intimate sense in terms of being married with them. And we know that that there's essentially two different types of narcissists, the overt and then the covert. The overt is the more obvious of the narcissist cluster B personalities, where they're visually overly self-centered. The people who constantly talk about themselves, who are constantly bragging, constantly boasting. I mean, it's me, me, me all the time. It's a very one-sided relationship. They're constantly talking about themselves, their accomplishments, their own family, and you're really not in the picture. You're just there to listen. You're just there to support them. You're just there to be supply to them. And they really essentially don't care about you. In essence, I mean, they care about you to the fact that you'll be there to mirror positively back to them, but they don't care about you in the sense that they have an empathy, meaning an understanding and an ability to comprehend and understanding your feelings, your needs, your interests, your wishes that relate to you, and mirror that back to you and understand and know really where you stand, where you're at, what's important to you. So really, and the covert narcissist, who is outwardly not very seemingly self-interested, not seemingly selfish, not seemingly self-centered, and living kind of in their own world because they're just so aloof. They're so non-confrontational. They're so non-communicative. So we wouldn't really think or assume or have a lot of outward clues that this person was a narcissist, meaning having a very grandiose and inflated sense of self, to the point which oftentimes it's creates a lot of entitlement issues, a lot of pathological lying, difficulty with communication and relationships, and really to the point where they end up hurting other people. So realize that the pathology of both of these narcissistic types are typified really by several qualities and how they then express themselves in the life and relationships of that person. Namely, a heightened sense of self-importance, an inflated self-importance, feeling superior, i.e., quote unquote, the egomaniac, but really, a pathological sense, not based in reality, and then coupled with the lack of empathy, which means they don't have that ability to relate to you, to get you, to understand your feelings, needs, wishes, and desires, and then reflect them back to you. So really, how does this impact a relationship, specifically having a lack of empathy? Really, it tends to create a lot of depersonalization. The person feels neglected. The person tends to feel silenced. They tend to feel invisible. And it creates a lot of codependent tendencies. Codependent tendencies meaning where that person, either as a child or as a spouse or as a friend or as a business associate, they feel like they need to drop everything and just focus on that other person. In other words, they can't fulfill their own feelings, needs, wishes, and desires, their own destiny. They need to kind of set that aside and focus on the needs of another. They need to constantly focus, and not as as a healthy sense where it's like they can, focus on the needs of another and actually help somebody and then move on. It becomes and creates and tends to foster codependent tendencies where either too early in life or too excessively in a relationship where it creates an out of balance and imbalance in that relationship, where one has to forego and basically set aside their healthy narcissistic needs or their natural self-preservation in order to focus in on the needs of another. So in how that's created in a covert narcissist is that person is so aloof, So non-confrontational. So a lacking of participation, or really that outgoingness. So we really just describe that as being aloof, almost impresent with they're almost like not present. So we tend to say that this person is, since they're so aloof, that it creates this void, or it creates this vacuum in the relationship, where then the other person, either as a child, they feel like something is wrong, intuitively they know, and so they tend to abandon their own healthy narcissistic needs. They tend to abandon really a lot of their own natural discovery, and they tend to kind of be stuck in that sort of shame-based, or like wondering what's wrong with my parent, and so they tend to absorb all these messages from them. Something is not right. You have disappointed me. You have made me feel like something is wrong with you, and I don't understand you. I don't get you, so I'm not going to talk to you. So all of these behaviors at the hands of the covert narcissist, who is remaining so aloof, especially in the child, it tends to create a feeling of emotional pain, and really sort of a message to that child that something is wrong with them. Something's inherently wrong with them. Something is flawed within them, because they're not receiving that mirroring, that attention, that normal satisfaction of narcissistic needs. So the child then internalizes that, and then seeks by homeostasis to almost try to parent that parent, satisfy their needs. And a lot of people in the psychological community have said, like lost their innocence. They have, been then driven to try to mirror back and satisfy the narcissistic needs of that parent. And so they develop these codependent tendencies. Likewise, in the overt narcissist, the child tends to also develop those codependent tendencies, where if it's an overt narcissist, that parent is constantly going to keep themselves in the center of attention, and a constant need for affirmation. And, the children are a perfect source of supply, because they're essentially captive. And that can, create a continual role that people find themselves in later in life. So if you are able to understand a little bit from this video how the covert and overt narcissist create that supply source, and then develop those codependent tendencies, perhaps you can realize and reflect on how that has impacted you in your life, and kind of take a moment to realize, how these behaviors are utilized by these types of people, and can be in a pathological sense, meaning cause you to become overwhelmed, cause you to kind of lose touch with your authentic self. So realize that you need to separate, really declare those own boundaries, and get in touch with what is truly important to you, your authentic self, your own internal voice, your own internal values. Maybe not the values that were given to you at the hands of the narcissist, but really your true values, your true interests, your true passions, your true loves, what truly you resonates with you truly adore. Things that are really gratifying to you in the immediate and long-term run and range, and really begin to get in touch with those as separate from those perhaps that were instilled in the narcissist, and begin to get in touch with those and write those in your recovery journal. And realize, that perhaps you've been procrastinating and separated from living these, and begin to really engage in these, reflect on these on a daily basis, and integrate these into your life, so you can become more in touch with your true authentic self, which is truly satisfying, and it's really your true passion, and gives you a sense of your own life, and not just as a life that's an extension of a narcissist, which oftentimes is the traumatic or flawed mirroring, which is that wounded self, which you really do need to separate and heal from. Peace and harmony with you here today. I hope these videos do help. Please share, and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussions, and support.